Is one of 16 states challenging a Biden-era change to a federal disability program. State reporter Abby Kasouris explains why critical funding for programs for children with disabilities hangs in the balance.
The lawsuit mentions Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, which ensures certain rights for people with disabilities, including in education. Children with disabilities can receive special accommodations in schools, special listening devices, a spot in the classroom, or more time to take tests.
He needs those accommodations so he can be successful, and without it, he is just falling through the cracks.
Thais Kaiser's son Isaiah has autism, dyslexia, and ADHD, qualifying conditions for a 504 waiver. In May of last year, the Biden administration added gender dysphoria to the list, threatening to withhold 504 funding from states that failed to do so. In September, Georgia joined 16 other states in a lawsuit that 504 is now unconstitutional. Last month, the case was stayed or put on pause. In a statement, Attorney General Chris Carr explains the constitutionality of 504 was never in question. We are fighting one woke policy added by Biden. Gender dysphoria should not be treated as eligible for federal funds, as it is not the same as Down syndrome, dyslexia, or autism.
This lawsuit's attempting to get rid of Section 504 entirely.
Georgia Democrats holding a press conference. State Senator Josh McLaurin says Carr, who's announced he's running for governor, is trying to score political points on the backs of disabled people.
I don't use the word lie much. I've been at the state capitol now for over 6 years, but there appears to be a deliberate effort by Chris Carr's office to obscure what has happened with his signature on this lawsuit.
They called on him to withdraw from the suit, while Republican Representative Scott Hilton defended the lawsuit. He has a child with a disability and says Biden's decision strips resources from the disability community.
So let me reiterate again to parents, Section 504 is not at risk, and I support Georgia and the other states challenging this decision.
The lawsuit not likely to see the courtroom. The case is stayed, put on pause. A representative from the Attorney General's office says, quote, they expect the new administration will reverse Biden's actions. In Norcross, I'm Abby Kasouris.